We're going to create some code now to make our cat run around the screen in the white area. Please do not colour when you do your maze. Please do not colour any of these. Make sure it's grey checkered. That means it's transparent, and that's where the mouse or the cat will run. So the first thing we really need to do is to make this cat a little bit smaller. It's a bit large at the moment. So if you click on it, you can bring him to the front, drag him out. Make sure you place him in a white area, because when we shrink him down, he might disappear beneath the maze and be very difficult to get hold of. So what we need now is the shrink tool at the top of the screen. There are some tools here: clone or duplicate, delete, grow it and shrink it. We need the shrink one. When you click it once, you get this tool which you can place over your sprite and click to shrink. So keep clicking until he's really small and will fit well within all these gaps. Don't forget, he's got to fit in the smallest gap in your game. Okay. So when you finish that, you can click on the shrink to get the shrink tool, click again to lose the shrink tool. So what we're going to do now is, now that we've shrunk him, we're going to take him to the start of our maze and we're going to place him exactly where we want him to begin. This is quite important. We are going to every time he hits a wall or something else, he's always going to go back to the start. So if you've carefully guided him all the way around these and you get to here and you just touch the wall here, he's going to go back to the start to give us a bit of a challenge. One thing we do need to do is, at the moment it's called Sprite 1. We need to give it a better name than Sprite 1. Don't forget how we did it in the last video. We click on the blue information box and we change the name here. And this time we're going to call it player. So I've got a player and I've got a maze. Maybe later on I'll have some more sprites called enemies or coins or something else. So he's called player. We need to start writing code. We need to come up to the scripts tab here. We've got costumes, sounds and scripts. Click on the scripts tab. We are on player here. Make sure you're not on the maze one, otherwise you'll be writing code for the maze. We need to write code for the player. The first thing we need to do is have an event, and the event we need is when I click the green flag. And what we're going to do when we click the green flag at the start of any game is, doesn't matter where he is, we're going to send him to the start. So if I choose motion, which is where I'll find a go to statement, and here we see some numbers: -202, 149. If I click on the information for the sprite, we can see that the sprite's position here is X is -202, Y is 149. That's the position here. If I move him anywhere else, that will change. So if I drag that underneath and attach it to when clicked, that says to me go to the start every time we click. So let's just test that out. If I put my cat here, my player here, if I press the green flag, he should go back to the start. There, perfect. So you can test it out as you go. Next thing I need to do is have a block of code which, when I press the right or the left or the up or the down key on my keyboard, it makes the player go round the maze. So I'm going to do that now. Again, I'm going to start it on events and when clicked. You can have as many when green flag clicked as you like. They do little different jobs. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a control block called forever, and that really means whilst the game is playing, do this forever inside here. And I'm going to drag out 4 if then blocks. Okay, drag 4 if then blocks, 1 for each key: the up key, the down key, the right key, the left key. And I'm going to put them together and then place them inside that forever block. So now I've got my main program working. It's going to do this forever. It's going to check if I've done something then it's going to actually perform the code that's in here. So I need to tell it now in this little gap here what I want it to do, and we need to go to sensing. Sensing is checking the mouse, checking the keyboard, checking if it's touching something. It senses what's happening in the game. What we need here is this one, the key. So if you grab the key and drop it into the little gap, you need to do that 4 times because we've got 4 keys. And at the moment it says if the space bar is pressed. There's a little arrow next to it, which if we press it we get different keys. All these are the keys on the keyboard, and the one that I want is, well, let's start off with the right arrow. We'll have this one as the left arrow, this one as the up arrow, and this one as the down arrow. So now I'm checking to see if any of my keys have been pressed. If they have, then I need to run the code that is in this little grey gap here. And that is a motion, because when I click the right key I want him to move, so that's in the motion blocks. And we need to go back to maths here. The horizontal axis, in other words, if I'm going right or left, is the x-axis. If I'm going up or down, then that is the y-axis, and I need those values here. So if I press the right arrow, I'm going right on the x-axis, so I need to change the x value, and at the moment I've got it set to 10. You can change this later. If you change it to 5, he will go slower. If you give it a bigger number like 100, it will go really, really fast. So I need to change the x value by 10 plus 10 because he's going right. To go left, I use the same thing, change x by, but I need to change the value from 10 to minus 10. If you think of an axis where they meet, in the middle that's 0, to the left of 0 are all minus numbers. So going in this direction means that we have minus numbers. Going in this direction from the middle gives us positive numbers. And we've got to do the same with the up and down. Remember that was the y-axis, and we've got another one here called change y. This time I'm going to change y by 10 every time I press the up arrow key, and I'm going to do the same for the down arrow key. And it's just like the x-axis. When we went left we were minus, if we go down we are also minus. So if I put a minus in there, there we go. So that's my movement. I can test my game now. So if I click the green flag, I can move him down, I can move him up, I can move him right. Oh, he seems to go through the maze. That is fine at the moment. We're going to handle that in the next piece of code. Notice that while the code is running, there is a yellow outline around it to tell you that that is running. If we press the stop, then that disappears and our code stops running. Right. We need one more thing in this video to test when this little chap touches the maze, that he goes back to the start. And we're going to go back to the control, and we're going to do the same. We're going to do a bit more sensing. We're going to check to see if he's touched the maze. But first we need an if and a then statement. Then we need to go to sensing, and this time we need the touching blocks. So I've got 2 touching blocks here. I'm not bothered about the colour. We could have if touching blue. I don't really want that to happen. I want to know when he's touching this particular sprite, the maze. So if I drag out that and place it in that block. So if touching, at the moment it's mouse pointer. If you click on the down arrow, if you have named it maze, it will appear in the list here. If you just left it as sprite 1 or sprite 2, it would say sprite 1 or sprite 2 here, which isn't very good. This makes a bit more sense. When I click it, it's now saying if touching maze, then. So that makes sense, whereas if touching sprite 1 wouldn't make so much sense. So how do I go back to the beginning of my game? If you remember, we did it here. Go to -202.149. That was in the motion blocks, and I can find my go-to statement here. Now notice that this one, because where the cat currently is, it's not at 149, it's at 129. A little bit different. You can actually come in here and you can change those values. Make sure it's the same as this one, and then place it inside there, and place the whole lot in that big forever loop. Be careful that you don't place it inside somewhere else, otherwise your program won't, it will do things, but it might sort of work in a strange fashion. So make sure it's out. So we've got an if block, an if block, an if block, an if block, and an if block. That is my game complete at the moment. We're going to add things to it later, but for now I've got a game which works. It can be quite challenging. So if I press the green flag to play, he goes to the beginning. I can move him down. If I try and move him right this time, he touches the maze and up goes back to the beginning. So it can be quite difficult to play this. Let's just check all the keys. Down is fine, right is fine, left is fine, and up is fine. So that's it, working fine. So the next video we will be looking at either changing levels or placing an enemy. We'll be enhancing the game in some way. For now, if you choose File, Save As, last time we saved it, I can't remember where I saved it. Last time we saved it as Maze Runner. Oh, a lot of files down here, I probably won't find it. There we go, Maze Runner. We can call this one the same, Maze Runner, but because it's our second version, I'm going to put version 2 on the end of it and click Save. Okay.